Yeah, so we're going to get a little controversial here. I love this industry and I love the sales side of the industry. But what I don't love is how this industry has turned sales heavy, meaning a lot of the focus is on sales. The problem that I have with that, and I come from a sales background, I love sales. My sales team is everything to me. I am very heavily focused on sales in my company, but I'm also very heavily focused on the client experience through production. So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between sales and production and what I think we need to spend more time, more energy, and more focus on the production aspect instead of just focusing heavily on sales. We need sales teams. That's who brings in the business. They go out, they bring jobs into the company so that we have work. And that's usually where it stops. There's very little focus on, once we sell that job, how do we knock it out of the park for our customer? Most of the really successful companies understand this. They know that that is how we actually make our money. It's really what sets us apart, and it's how we build a sustainable business. I can't tell you how many companies I've seen that are so focused on sales, they drop the ball on the production end. I have a really close friend in Tampa. He owns another roofing company. His entire business is he is a production-based subcontractor. What he does is he works for a couple big companies that all they do is they go out and sell. And then once the jobs are sold, they turn them over to his company. His company acts as a production department. They reach out to the homeowner, they deliver materials, they build the job, and then they close everything up, and then they pitch it back to the other company. It's a good model. I mean, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to focus on production. Somebody's got to focus on how to make the customer experience great for that company, because that company doesn't do it. They're a large company. If I gave you the name, pretty much everybody watching this would know who they are. But what that speaks to is it speaks to they don't really understand the function of what we do as contractors. You could do the most technical roof in the world. You could have the best installers in the world. But if the job site's a mess, or if one of those installers made a mistake while they were up there doing the roof and you have a leak and you don't get back to them immediately, or you leave materials in the driveway for weeks at a time, or your communication isn't good, you don't show up when you say you're going to show up, the job takes way longer than you said it would. All of those things can completely ruin the perception of your company. Even though your salesperson did a great job selling the job, they were super happy to sign with you. If you don't fulfill on the back end, you are not going to retain that customer. Even worse, you're not going to get good reviews and you're not going to get referrals. So this is why I always say that at the very minimum, you better be as good at production as you are at sales. Here's the other key point that people don't even think about. If your production processes aren't on point and you waste material, or you build a job that's not profitable, or you have a job that was sold profitable, but there were so many problems on the job that either you had to fix them out of pocket or you just didn't address them at all, you've either ruined your relationship with your customer or you've just completely wasted the profitability of the job. Let's keep the main thing here. So I want to tell you a story about a company I worked for a few years back. It was a good company. They'd been in business for a long time. They hired me and two other salespeople. Me, I was their top producer by a lot every single year. The other guy that they hired, his name was Matt, he was a really good salesperson as well. We were neck and neck every month. And then we hired another female. She was excellent. She was really good at selling kitchens and baths. The company, what they didn't expect is they didn't expect for us to be able to front load as much business as we did. Within the first 6 months, between the three of us, we actually sold $10 million worth of work. That's a lot of work in a short period of time. Because we sold so much and we front loaded the company, production couldn't keep up. They didn't build jobs on time. We had problems with actually being able to complete jobs. We didn't have enough labor. And we kept getting phone calls. I kept getting phone calls from our customers. They were unhappy. They were mad about the fact that their job wasn't scheduled. They were mad about the fact that their job had gone on way too long. They were mad about the fact that their job wasn't complete. Even though we had a full production department and we handed those jobs off to the production department, our customers still called us. What happened was I got so tired of the complaints. I got so tired of the problems that I couldn't manage, that I couldn't solve. I didn't want to sell anymore. I was just beside myself. I didn't want to answer my phone. I ended up leaving that company. And one of the big things that I learned from that experience was no matter how good of a salesperson that I was, or how good the sales department is, if there are tons of complaints about production, that's going to hurt the salesperson's ability to sell. It's going to take a toll on their attitude. It's going to take a toll on their perspective of the company. And if I don't believe in the company that I'm selling for, if I don't believe in the product that I'm selling, I'm not going to be able to go in. I'm not a dishonest person. I'm not a scumbag. I'm not a liar. I have to believe in what I sell. I can't in good conscience sit at the kitchen table and tell these people that their project is going to go seamlessly. They should hire us because we're a great company. I can't in good conscience do that. And so my argument is in order for your sales team to actually be able to sell and be able to sell well, you have to have a well-oiled, well set up, and efficient production department so that you can perform on what your sales team actually is selling. When you do that, it makes them more energized, it helps them feel more comfortable, and they are way more likely to buy in and be enthusiastic about what you bring to the table, and they're going to sell better. There's no way that you can just focus on sales and not have the production to back it up. It is true that a company can't function if they can't sell. But what's more true, and what we see more often, is we have a company that's good at sales, but they close their doors because they cannot fulfill on production. Or the production is so bad that the company's reputation takes a big hit, and now the sales team is struggling to sell because they don't feel confident in the company that they're selling for. That happens way more often than the sales team not being able to sell. So before you think about front loading your company in sales, make sure your production department can follow suit. So in September 2022, Hurricane Ian hit in the state of Florida, caused massive damage south of us, about 2 hours south of us, but it also caused a lot of damage in my area. My sales team was thrilled. We had so many freaking leads, it was unbelievable. I was actually running 8 appointments a day. It was all hands on deck. We had so many leads. We sold so much work within a 2-month period. My production department couldn't keep up. I didn't have enough labor. Some of the people that we used as contract labor went down south because they had more work to do. There were more contractors out there in the market looking for labor. We really struggled. My production department was a disaster. We had piled on $5 million worth of work in 2 months. Now, that might not seem like a lot, okay? But that was more at the end of the year than what we are used to doing. December, January, February are usually pretty slow. But because of the hurricane, we just kept getting more and more and more work. Our quality went down. Our ability to finish jobs went down. Our ability to start jobs on time got pushed super far out. Materials weren't available. Labor wasn't available. Things like trash, being able to get a dumpster there was difficult. All of that was production related issues for us that we were not prepared for. We had more customer complaints. I lost more money. I had people quit. My production manager quit. It was a disaster. What I learned from that was I learned that I need to be able to cross-train my team. I had to have backups for my backups. I cannot look at things as the status quo and think everything will be fine. I needed to have some procedures in place for what if. That's a lesson that I learned in 2022. After being in this business for a long time, I'd never had that happen before. But what it did was change the way I thought about my production. It changed the way I thought about my production department and the people working in my production department. What I did to solve the problem was I hired a couple people to run my sites, and I trained those people. We call them project success managers. We brought them on, people call them project managers, whatever. We call them project success managers. I brought them on and I cross-trained them on how to understand how to look at material lists, how to check estimates, how to verify measurements, how to work with our production team on scheduling, how to solve problems when we can't get out to the job, and most importantly, how to forecast when we're not going to be able to keep our job schedule. That was the most critical change that we made in 2023, was how to forecast. If we're not going to make it, if we're not going to be able to get materials, if we're not going to be able to finish a job on time, how do we forecast so that we can communicate with the homeowner? That was the biggest change. And we set processes in place, we made hires, and we set procedures in place, and so that we can manage expectations for our customers and, most importantly, communicate with them. What I'm saying is none of that is sales related. So if you hire a great sales team, you train a great sales team, and they do their job well, you damn sure better know that your production team can handle what your sales team brings in. So my argument is that production department better be structured well and better be ready to handle whatever volume you throw at them before you knock it out of the park with your sales. The production comes first, because at the end of the day, sales do not matter if your production team cannot give your customer a good experience and build a profitable job. So my stance is always going to be production over sales. So when we talk about production over sales, or when I talk about production over sales, I talk about a few key areas. We talk about practical implementation, meaning, is our process practical? Is it efficient? And does it fit well into what's next? The other thing that we focus on is cross-training. If I lose somebody, if I need to elevate somebody, meaning I need to pull them out of their position and move them up to the next position, or I need to be able to hire somebody, I have to have that cross-training in place. I cannot have a situation where a key player is either overwhelmed, overworked, or even worse, they can't make it to work because they're sick or have an emergency, or they quit. Now I have a gap in my company and I cannot produce my projects well. Over the years, that has been the biggest problem that I've seen in a construction company, is production related. It's very rarely sales related. So to summarize, I know this is a controversial topic, but I will always pick production over sales any day of the week.